Hi everyone, Jedediah Thomas, the Mind Master here. So, haven't done a video in a while. There's been major things that have been going on with the business, with everything that I'm doing, and that was more than I could, keep you up to date on consistently. I do have a new computer now, so that's really awesome. So this is the first video that I'm recording on the new computer. Um, I'm now currently, I think I mentioned in one of my update videos, I'm starting a religion. So I have a couple people that I'm training in the priesthood of that religion. The priesthood will be practitioners of this methodology that I've come up with in the mind. And so basically, we're keeping it in-house in the sense that the only people that we're going to train will be clergy. And you don't necessarily have to join the religion or the church to, be healed, but this methodology is so powerful that it just can't get out to like normal the normal public. Um so as part of one of the biggest difficulties that I was running into, so basically, kind of long story short, I got handed the most powerful methodology for fixing the mind of anything, basically from God, right? It just came out of thin air, and it's worked more or less 100% of the time. I mean, there's only been one person that I haven't been able to ship, but there was other stuff going on there. But like it's literally the most powerful thing ever. So I got handed the methodology, but I never got handed the strategy or the frameworks or how to apply it, correctly, right? And so what I've had is this kind of like disparity between, yes, I have the most powerful thing on the planet. I can fix basically any individual problem in the mind, whether it's, traumas, limiting beliefs, whatever, in 5 minutes. But sometimes it's difficult to see exactly what needs to be fixed from more of a strategic perspective, right? So, like, if I fix this trauma, what will be the real world result, right? Or if I fix this belief, what will be the real world result? So that's one layer of it. And then the second layer is that um, it's impossible to see your own beliefs because, like, what I do is so beyond science. It's like it's deeper than science even knows exists. It's deeper than the subconscious. It's deeper than you can access in hypnosis. There's nobody who even knows about this stuff, much less how to actually change it and fix it, which I figured out. And so it's been very difficult to kind of like, how do you see something that's invisible, right? Like it's your own defenses prevent you from seeing it yourself. So you have to have an outside perspective, and that's been kind of like the difficulty. And so I've been trying to figure out, how do I um make more robust diagnostics to actually figure out, the reality of what's going on and what needs to be fixed. So in training the couple people that I am in the priesthood, so now it's not just me who's doing this work. There's now, a couple people who are, potentially able to do it. We've been able to put our heads together to actually ramp up the diagnostics, and we have made it's been about, since the last month, so about 4 or 5 weeks, we've been kind of working heads together on this stuff, and we have made absolutely unbelievable progress, right? Like, as far advanced as my methodology is compared to everyone else on the planet, the new revelations that we're coming up with almost on a daily basis is like that so far beyond when I first started this, right? Like it's getting ridiculous. Like I don't want to go in too much detail, but um things are really starting to heat up in a massive way. And as part of that, we've been able to come up with a new diagnostic document that asks questions in a very different way, and more questions than what I was previously asking. And it's actually allowing us to not only get down to that um, deeper belief layer that has been thus far invisible. We're actually starting to see beliefs, but then we're actually starting to understand connections in a way that I was, blind to from the beginning. Now, specifically, what I mean by that is I have a sales, background. I've been in sales for what, 13, 14 years, however long I've been in sales, I don't even know. And there's this very strong theory in sales that people buy on emotion and then justify with logic. And so my original model of the mind, which I'll pull up here in a minute, is based on that partially, right? Like I knew there was deeper stuff, so I have stuff that nobody else knows about, but then the middle part of that model was basically from that idea that emotions necessarily trigger thoughts and thoughts necessarily trigger actions, and that's really not the case. And it probably should have been more obvious from a common sense perspective that that was not the case, but I was kind of like blinded by my sales background, and they have no clue how to persuade people, which is ironic because that's the entire profession of sales, is to persuade people. So let me pull up the model here so you can kind of follow along with what I figured out. And where did it go? There we are. Okay, so we have here the model of the mind. This has been solid since I first started. Like, this is the model that's allowed me to fix stuff that science has yet to even figure out as fixable. Like, and for me to do it very, very easily, very, very quickly. And so you'll see here, this is what I was talking about, right? Emotions lead to thoughts. They buy with emotion, right? And then they justify with logic. That's the explanation of where I got those two steps on this model. And I had just taken that as, gospel truth for, a year and a half or however long I've been doing this. And it's not true at all. Like it's absolutely incorrect. So what I found is that beliefs, yes, beliefs are kind of the binary coding of our soul. It's like the shape, the electrical shape of our soul. Yes, it can cause emotions, but it can also directly cause thoughts without emotions, and it can also directly cause actions without emotions or thoughts, right? You could have one or more of these, but you don't necessarily have to have any of them, right? And so that was a huge, huge revelation. And I'll kind of share how we came up with that. This is probably going to end up being a longer video because it's updates and all this stuff, because it's just been so long since I've done a video. But what I've also figured out is traumas work exactly the same way, right? So sometimes traumas trigger emotions, sometimes they trigger thoughts, but also sometimes they trigger actions directly and you don't have emotions or thoughts. Now that's polar opposite to how I was originally doing the diagnostics. I was looking at what emotions are you having, what thoughts are you having, and I assumed that if you had a trauma, then you would have emotion, right? And the bigger the emotion, the bigger the trauma. That is absolutely not at all the case. Like completely debunked, right? From what we figured out over the last, month or two. So what happened is basically I was working on someone I've done a lot of work on, and we had probably fixed, I don't know, 50, 60 traumas. It is a very, very traumatic, life this person has had. And then we fixed one that's appeared to be like any other trauma, and it like resolved like 90% of their issues overnight. And we were like, what the heck, right? Because previously we've just been going through methodically, right? And it's been extremely effective. I've been able to help them on, a level that nobody else has, psychologists, psychiatrists, you name it. And I've done better than them, but I was just kind of like knocking out one by one by one by one all of these traumas and all of these beliefs, because I was thinking, okay, the earliest thing or the biggest thing is probably going to be the thing that we need to fix. And that ended up not being the case at all. So once we fixed that, and we were like, okay, there's something very different about this one than the other ones. We don't yet know what it is because it didn't feel any different than any other trauma. We found another one, and so we were able to kind of like reverse engineer a new diagnostic model taking into account the fact that you might not have emotions or thoughts that come about from beliefs and traumas, but they might directly influence your actions with nothing else. So, what we've been able to do is basically come up with a very advanced behavioral analysis model, and we're going to be adding stuff like that the FBI uses or the CIA uses and all this stuff, and actually being able to diagnose traumas and beliefs just based on your actions and nothing else. Like, okay, here's your pattern of actions, here's your projected pattern of actions, here's what your belief or trauma likely is. And it's interesting, our model has gotten so powerful. I had one of these, what we're calling core traumas as well. It was a situation that I remembered, but I did not know it was traumatic until we applied this new model. And it was like a major, major trauma, and I had no idea, right? Like it didn't feel traumatic at all. And then so I remembered kind of like the part that would normally be traumatic, and then the after part that like theoretically shouldn't be traumatic, I had no memory of, but I was able to reconstruct the possible scenario that happened without remembering it, and I was able to fix that in me just by using this new diagnostic model, which is crazy. We're literally fixing stuff that the mind can't even see. Like our biggest bottleneck has been trying to like, okay, how do we get a person to accurately describe what their problem is so we can fix it? And we're getting to the point where we might not even need to do that. Hey, so I'll take a breath here. I get very passionate about this stuff, and I don't want to, like overwhelm you. So, in simple terms, we have perhaps the most advanced behavioral analytical model on the planet, and we're making it better all the time. Like we're adding stuff that by the time we're done figuring this stuff out, the FBI is going to be asking us for this model, basically, is what we're getting to. It's it's ridiculous. Like you tell me, okay, you do this action, this action, this, okay, you have this trauma, right? Which is totally crazy. So knowing that, right, knowing that there are these traumas that don't feel any different, but are extremely qualitatively different than any other trauma because they affect so much, we can single them out and we can start to fix those and resolve a majority of your problems in a few hours, right? I would estimate that by the time we're done with all of our uh, updating our diagnostics and all of the evolutions there, we can literally fix anybody, no matter how many problems they have, in probably between 4 and 20 hours. That's just a guess. So I'm not making any kind of claim there, but mechanically speaking, it is possible to 100% fix somebody in a few hours versus months or years of whatever, right? And previously I was taking, several sessions to just fix one external problem, but now we might be able to fix everyone in that same amount of time, or like everything in that same amount of time. Like it's ridiculous. It's exponentially um more powerful, more effective than what I was doing, just because we're actually seeing what needs to be fixed. So that's on the trauma side. Now, on the belief side, right? More and more updates. So we've also found what we're calling belief clusters. I mean, you could call it core beliefs or whatever, right? But basically, it's something that tags to multiple things, not for any reason except for how the mind works. So one of the ones that we found, one of my other clients, they had a belief that money was evil. Well, okay, the fact that they thought money was evil created the concept of evil. And then the is evil started tagging to all kinds of other stuff. Success is evil, relationships are evil, this and that and that and that and that, right? Like, so all this different stuff was considered evil by the mind. And we were, going and fixing individual things. And then we realized, hey, we could just fix this whole thing all at once and rewrite their concept of, what evil is, not to completely erase it, but to make their mind a little bit more analytical about what it considers evil and not. And so we were able to fix massive, massive amounts of beliefs with one belief shift, as opposed to, taking a belief shift for each individual thing, which is also an exponential increase in effectiveness. So basically, uh, we are we've been at the cutting edge of science of the mind since I started this work, because nobody can heal like I can, but we're going to get to the point where, like, our ability to fix people and churn out healed people is going to be unparalleled, unmatched. Like in a few, it's like, spend a few months with us, we'll fix you 100%. You won't even, recognize your life anymore, basically, is what it's going to get to very, very quickly. So um we've made huge advancements in even our understanding of the mind. This applies to persuasion. This applies to literally everything. Like, if you are have ever studied anything about psychology, you know as much about rocket science as a caveman does, basically, right? You have no clue how the mind works. Psychology is absolutely a crackpot science. There's no validity to it whatsoever, except for, like, motivation, right? Like, that's really the only application for psychology. Like, buyer psychology, motivation is basically it. And even they got, a ton of stuff wrong. But as far as healing the mind, absolutely not. Psychiatry, completely crackpot science. Anything that you think of as modality of the mind, therapy, even EFT, tapping, hypnosis, completely crackpot sciences. They have no concept of how the mind works at all. And we're getting to the point where um, we can self-replicate what we're doing, so that, yeah, now it's not just me doing it anymore. We actually have multiple people able to do it. And so we're just going to start growing like crazy, because we can actually prove that our stuff works immediately and extremely powerfully. So another development off of that, because I was able to train another person in what I do, I was able to have them work on me. So I was able to fix my own traumas. Yes, if you know how, you can fix your own traumas, but nobody knows how. But beliefs are impossible to fix yourself. Like no matter how much you know, like, you just can't do it yourself. You have to have someone else to help you. And it took me like 6 months to train this person to actually work on me, and they finally did over this last, week, basically. We've shifted, I think, 4 beliefs of mine, which were, it'll go on forever. Um, I can't finish it. I need to do it the right way the first time, and then I can't recall the other one. But basically, symptomatically, my entire mind was on lockdown because of the beliefs that I had. Like, literally, I was going through life kind of as snapshots. So if you imagine going through life and you just take a picture every couple seconds, and then you look at the picture and you see what life is, that's how my mind was working, because of these beliefs were had my mind in a lockdown completely. And in college, it was like ridiculous. So I would, like, set aside 3 hours to study, and I would, get to the end of the 3 hours, and I realized I was reading the same sentence the entire time. Like, I don't think I read an entire chapter of anything when I was in college. It was ridiculous. And so I was going through life, like, intellectually stunted, right? Or, not like, my intellect was fine, but my ability to learn was like zero, right? And so that's completely gone now. That's completely fixed. Like I feel like I have a completely new brain just from, 3 or 4 belief shifts. And, if anyone's interested, I can explain why the symptoms lined up with that. It's crazy how this stuff fits together. Like, it's really crazy, and that's why we needed a new diagnostic model. So, with all of that being said, like, now I'm getting the help that I've been needing the whole time, which is why I started this work to begin with. Since I've been helping so many people for so long, I'm growing my business in terms of kind of more targeting corporate executive type people, just because they're a little bit more stable than some of the people that I've tried to work on in the past, a little bit more financially, sets. They're not going to, lose their house or home or whatever. So that's a change. Growing the religion, basically the business that I'm doing is kind of like a subset of the religion. So I mentioned that, but on every front, like things are absolutely just taking off. It's something I can't even put into words. It's so monumental, the changes that have happened and are continuing to happen nearly every day. So stay tuned. Now with my updated understanding of how the mind works even better than what I had before. Um, yeah, we're going to make advancements every day that have taken the entire field of psychology like hundreds of years um, to make. So stay tuned for that. I don't want to have this video go too long, but um, man, like if you could just see behind the curtains, like what I'm saying about what we're doing doesn't do it justice, right? Like it's beyond my ability to even describe, but things are exciting. I'll try and make more videos on here now that I have more theory to work with than I had before. I kind of like exhausted basically everything I had to say. So I'll be doing that and reassessing some of the stuff that I'm doing in light of that. I'm working on kind of like a new persuasion model that comes along with our insights. So the future is absolutely ridiculously bright, and we're just going to keep growing and growing and growing. If you liked what you see here, you'll see a link to join my Facebook group. It's a free group. You do have to answer the questions to hop in. And then if you want me to reach out to you, have a conversation, I will. If not, no worries. There are free resources in there. And then we can talk about maybe how I can work with you and help you out with whatever it is that you're needing help with. So let me know and I'll see you in the group. And otherwise, just, hang out on the channel, like and subscribe if you liked what you saw, and we'll see you around. All right. Bye.